Good. Here we go.
I think we're live.
We are.
So I'm with Jochen Grün, who is German but based in Switzerland. And today we're going to be riffing about some recent news in the AI space, more specifically Anthropic and how they're rolling out their watermark globally, despite the fact that it really stems from an EU law recently enacted called the EU AI Act that went live on August 2nd of this year. And Anthropic is one of the first companies to be fully compliant. Other companies are sort of trailing behind them. I think the deadline officially is in December of this year. So, Jochen, welcome to the call today. Happy to riff and get this conversation started.
Cheers. Yeah, it's late night here, late evening. Let's get it. I was just inviting you yesterday because I just saw these news in the last couple of days. I was kind of wondering because I am approaching people in the book niche and they are relying on writing. And they are annoyed by uncreative AI writings that is not coming from humans. And this is like the art industry. They don't like this either. They had watermarks, now they have watermarks in text as well. And I see different news from this. Like how is AI actually generating letters and words? I mean, it's probability and statistics, right? It's like what could come next from the probability standpoint. And if you see this from the technical perspective, it makes sense to like AI structuring text by probability, so it knows what it selected, so it can identify itself if it created this AI text itself, AI generated. It's by the sentence structure actually, and is if you just use that text and reformulate it, might not be detected anymore, right? I mean, but in the end, you might end up in writing it yourself anyway.
Well, I think it comes down to, first of all, they're saying that the watermark is undetectable by the human eye. You have to use specialized tools to be able to detect it. Those tools have not been announced, and we'll have to see ultimately what comes to market and how it's viewed. But I do want to start the conversation with the recent change by LinkedIn, who launched this AI slop button, right? So now people can react not only to the post, but if they don't like it or they feel because it's AI generated or AI slop, essentially copy and pasted directly as an output from ChatGPT, Claude, or other tools, that could impact the person's reach on that post. I haven't read too much.
Like it's working like you have the menu button on a post, right? You press that three dots, the menu button, select it, and then it looks like AI slop, right? That is the thing what you're talking about.
Correct, correct. And as you write more and more, you're quickly able to determine what is AI generated versus what is human generated. I found in my
To be
experience.
honest, when I take a look at like this B2B outreach sales messages that I am
Mm,
receiving multiple times per day, it already feels like a massive copy and paste because of the repeating patterns
yes.
of how the generated text looks like. Like it's almost completely missing emotions and structure. Like I don't like this kind of structure that when I get sometimes I use AI generated text for help because I'm not a native English speaker. But if I read it like description, justification, hardening, this is like a structure that I see very often when I get this text generated, and then I see this in messages I'm receiving myself, and then I feel like, but it's never. It's like with the images when people say like, oh yeah, I can see it, but then there's tools that show you a real image and an AI detected image, and you cannot differ.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to what is your goal of using AI with content creation. You can use AI to not only create text, but to create images, to create B-roll, to create carousels, infographics. If we're speaking more specifically about LinkedIn content, I think on Instagram it's a bit different, more visual kind of content. But it remains to be seen what this new law is really going to output. I was reading an article today that the producers of these tools they have to be providing icons that explain that the content was AI generated.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Do you like it?
Well, as we were chatting before we started this recording, I've taken this stance that I really want to get back to just writing for myself.
Yeah.
In the past, I've used AI heavily, but I've realized that by always leaning so heavily on AI, that you almost forget how to write. You almost forget how to think
Yeah.
and become dependent upon the AI. Whereas
Yeah, I feel the
if you
same.
start to write yourself, you're better positioned. But there's like two different approaches. One is you literally start with a blank slate, right? Like a blank screen on Google Docs, Microsoft Word, or literally a sheet of paper. Or you can be like a painter, right, at the canvas, blank canvas.
Mm.
Or you can be what's called a
Yeah.
sculptor, where you sort of like just start writing, feverishly, and you get a block of text, and then you start refining it, and there you can use I think, to say, hey, how can I communicate this more clearly? And so there are different
Oh, yeah.
approaches of how you use AI to write. And so, for me personally, I like to use AI to brainstorm, like the topic,
Yeah.
potential hooks, but I always write myself, and then I will go maybe line by line and say, okay, AI, how does this sentence read? Is this clear? Is there a way to improve it?
Yeah.
Is there a different word that I can use? And so I kind of like spar with AI.
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I am writing text, and when I write text in German, I use this as brainstorming tool, and I get some bullet points. That's the most that I generate because I feel like the texts are non very emotional. I need to put some natural authenticity into it. So I use it as brainstorming too. This works in German. If I use it in English, then it's tricky because I could go back to writing it in German, just translate it. When it comes to another language, I just go back to generate bullet points, summaries, something like as a start, and then all the rest will come by itself. I cannot start with a blank page. It
Yeah,
just
I mean,
doesn't
I
work.
think,
But if I have something already and then improve it, I don't know. That doesn't make sense, right? Just to bloat it up with something.
well, I mean, I think it really comes down to what is your ultimate goal with using AI for
Yeah,
content. And I think what LinkedIn is doing, and I think even Reddit will eventually do this as well, is just to limit the low quality, the amount of low quality
mm,
content, whether it's a post
yeah,
or the comments, things of that nature. And as you mentioned earlier, I get emails every day or like
yeah,
DMs or cold emails where you can
yeah.
just totally
Exactly,
tell it's AI generated. It lacks any human
exactly.
voice.
Yeah.
It lacks any sense of something like people don't talk like that. People don't write like that. It just feels
Yeah.
very artificial.
And it feels so it's generated in seconds, sent out in masses, and I feel like betrayed. Like it's not a real.
But what is your process to write in your native language? You're a native German speaker?
Depends. So if I am writing something like usually it's just like HR stuff or summarizing something or just emails, then I'm structuring it in three blocks, and then is the question, and then there's some explanation, and then there's something like what's the next steps.
But what is your goal? What is your goal with social media? Do you have some goals where you feel the pressure to write content? Is that where you're currently at? What would you say is your
It's mostly to find the right words to put comments in the with the to have people not understand me wrong.
you're saying when you
If I am
comment on other
commenting,
posts?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Or if I reply to comments, what I like, I usually get the comments, get an analyzation of that comment that the person was writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to ask myself, maybe I understood it wrong.
Mm.
And then the AI is putting this into a context and tells me maybe you're not, you got it wrong probably. It's like this, and you might reply like this. And
Yeah, see,
then,
I
what
don't
is your
think
goal?
I don't think that's an issue. I don't think, using AI for clarification purposes or refining your
Yeah,
wording is a problem. I think the problem is that what people are doing is to comment on a mass scale. So they'll copy in a
yeah,
post, drop it into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever other tool they
yeah,
use, and they'll say, "Give me a good comment," copy and paste it. or there's no relevance there.
Yeah.
You need to add something.
Yeah, no, there's something in programming, as we say, or as they say, there's something like copy and paste is copy and waste. Because in the times when Stack Overflow was used more often, that is a forum, a platform where coders were exchanging programming problems. You put some issue you're having, and then you get others to answer this. And that pre-AI that was used heavily, now everyone is just using ChatGPT, Claude Code, whatever. The issue is when you just copy and paste it, it usually doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean,
You had to change a couple lines, and if you change these lines step by step, you're investing so much time and energy. You could have written it by yourself
well,
entirely,
one of the biggest,
and that would have been the same time. That is the reason why it's wasting. It's a waste of time, actually.
well, that
if you
I
just
agree.
copy and
I do
paste.
think AI can speed up the writing process, but what I've found to be a very helpful tool as of late is the voice to text tools. You've probably heard of Whisperflow, which is a paid
Not
for
yet.
service.
I will check it out.
It's called Whisperflow.
Whisperflow. Yeah.
But I recommend a tool that's free for Mac users. It's called Fluid Voice. It's only for Mac.
Fluid
They don't have it
Voice,
available for
okay.
mobile yet. They have plans to make it available for mobile, iPhone, etc. But what's great about it, it's a free tool. It's incredibly accurate. They offer it in multiple languages, and you can actually track how much time savings you've saved by speaking over writing, and it has like a metric tracker there because it's so much faster to speak than to write. And so that's a great way to write, because when you speak,
Yeah.
it's very natural. Even people that write in their own native languages will start writing very, very formally. And it's not about that. Like LinkedIn is about communicating things at almost an elementary level so that everybody can understand it. That no one's here to get into a spelling competition who's got a better vocabulary. It's not about that, right? It's about communicating ideas that people can relate to. So this is not writing that's going to be like a Nobel Peace Prize or Nobel Prize for writing, right? This is about communicating business ideas, I think, for the most part.
You said earlier you started to write all over social media posts by yourself. If you have to write a post every day, do you write everything? Or how much do you brainstorm? How much do you use for copy and pasting?
Yeah, so that's really, I think, one of the challenges that new writers have on LinkedIn. And I'm by no means perfect by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, just prior to this session, I was examining other people that have found success, because it comes down to daily repetition without the crutches, without the support of AI, because that's what really allows you to find your voice. But I think ultimately, I've been studying copywriting, and there's one individual in particular that I recommend you check out. His name is Kieran Drew. He's from the UK, from Leeds, former orthodontist or dentist that basically left that very lucrative career and became a writer. He's a copywriter. He offers courses, resources, things of that nature. And I've just really enjoyed his approach. But he basically says you want to speak to your ideal ICP, like the one person that you want to communicate with. So like 90% of your posts should be dedicated to that person. And so he has you create what's called, I'll pull it up here, he calls it the transformative process. And this is
So
basically...
you are actually writing posts by a person you want to talk to.
Yes, right. So you basically want to
see.
target the person, like your audience. You want to speak to that person individually. But he says to really look at what's called this transformative promise. And he says this is basically the reason people follow you and the reason you should write. And the formula is this: I help my one true fan achieve their big desire through my unique vehicle so they can achieve this big benefit. And so I went through that exercise and I came up with, I help founders with real authority grow their business through a content distribution system that scales their message and gets them in front of more buyers. Now that's a mouthful, right? But it's more of like a guiding light. It's like a principle of how you do what you do. So like for me,
Right.
I always say like my ICP is a bootstrap founder in the $1 to $10 million revenue range because these people, these companies typically don't have a content team in-house. And as a result,
Right.
they don't do enough content, right? They know content's important, but because they have a business to attend to, content always gets deprioritized to the point that certain founders, they only produce content on one platform. Other founders,
That's how we are actually doing it, right? I mean, we are just producing mostly content on Instagram, and what I recently started is YouTube as a podcast,
mhm.
and a bit of LinkedIn. But most of my audience I am currently trying to reach is on Instagram. It's Bookstagram, and those creators that I figured that it does not really matter what kind of content I'm creating. It can be AI written, creative, handwritten, whatever. In the end, I need to do outreach currently. I need to find them
Well, who is your
and
ICP?
contact them.
Who is your ICP for that
It's
that initiative, that community?
it's the people who are reading books is mostly female in their 20s,
Hmm.
30s, 40s, and they are writing reviews. They might be authors, and they are posting their progress on Instagram, TikTok,
But
whatever,
are you
everywhere.
looking
And
to
some
like
some have.
create some kind of product for them, a community? Do you have like a business idea, or is this more of like a hobby, just a personal interest?
I was creating the Tapkeen app, and this is a creator tipping marketplace actually. If you put it on an abstract level, it's the idea is that I need to find these creators to attract them to use Tapkeen as a monetization layer to earn tips by creating valuable content for their niche, for their community. These people I'm currently approaching, and this is usually I'm doing by outreach and not by creating better posts.
Right, but what I'm saying is, are you looking to create like a business opportunity out of this book club, or is it more of like just a personal interest?
This grew. The general idea is that this app is used to create tips, and then they can cash out the money. So they are earning, and we are earning when they cash
No, but
out.
I'm
So
saying,
every time
are you
they're
are you like
that
linking these two concepts together, like the book club with Tapking?
yeah.
Got it. So can you explain how that works?
So they are usually having their audience and their community on another platform,
Hmm.
and they don't need to leave. They don't need to switch. They are just additionally, it's like a Patreon just for single tips.
Hmm.
So you don't have a subscription, there's no ads, and you can publish your content on Tapkin as well.
Hmm.
And then there's some tipping buttons, and your community can spend directly on your posts and not
Okay,
as a
so instead of
subscription. So
subscribing like on Substack where you're paying on a monthly basis, if you
right,
like a
right, it's
post,
not
you
right.
can
It's
tip, you can contribute, and
yeah,
that person monetizes.
yeah, right,
Got it. And
right.
so you're saying that this
And
book club is geared towards people that who are already creating some kind of content can then start creating content on Tapkeen and then monetize that
yeah,
way.
we tried a couple niches.
Hmm.
To be honest, we tried something before,
Hmm.
and we tried by the content we created, the people we tried to attract, the people we were talking to, and a couple groups on the internet have already their ways of monetization. Like there's the fitness sports, they have their own apps, coaching, Zoom meetings where they are coaching people. This already they have everything implemented. It's not working, but and food they're just working on Instagram as with collabs. If we are approaching YouTubers, they usually, if they're bigger, larger, then they already use Patreon, and then they're having constantly posting content. For those people, Patreon is better. To just have a subscription, they have a recurring amount of content they're constantly creating, so it makes sense to have this. Like, I see Patreon as a TV,
Hmm.
and Tapkeen is the, if you see something valuable, then you can tip there if you like it.
And what is there
And
like a suggested amount for a tip? I mean, how much are tips typically?
it's starting with 20 Keen coins is something like 20 US dollar
Hmm.
cents, 20 euro cents, something like this. depending on the currency exchange, up to 7,500 keen
No, but
coins.
I
So
mean
that
for
would
like a
be
single
seven.
tip. Say you find this author who does this post.
Usually, single tips are in the range of single
Okay,
dollars,
got
something
it,
like
got
this.
it.
Yeah, it's micropayments,
Right. So the
microtransactions.
idea is to
Yeah,
support a creator whose content you like with more than just a
yeah,
like, an actual financial
yeah.
incentive.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah, because what's it like, right? If
Right. Well, like on
it's valuable,
TikTok, I'm
that
not
should
sure
be.
how active you are on TikTok. When people go live, you're able to like tip them with stickers. I'm not even sure what they're called.
Yeah, right. That is there's something like a rose or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
right?
I've yeah, I mean, well, as part of Social Rising, we have the guy Ed Ventures, who's like our in-house
Right.
streaming expert. And I'm not into streaming myself to like stream my own life, but I occasionally will follow individuals that stream.
Well, there's something very interesting. He's streaming mostly on Twitch.
Hmm.
And if you, I have tried it because my nephew was streaming on Twitch. He was streaming gaming,
Hmm.
and I was streaming on Twitch, in the topic just chatting, and it was interesting, but it's like in the beginning, there's no, most of your friends are not going to follow your conversation and type in the chat. You just have some friends and family who will be making the number not being zero, and and then you are talking to a void, and you need to be an entertainer,
Yeah, it's a
and this
different
is
skill
so
set. It's a
I
different skill
I
set
mean, what
than just typical.
Adventures is doing, like he's walking in real life and he's walking through the city. So you have inspiration and anything you can talk about, and then you might be funny, and people are starting to drop in and then listen and see that. But on Twitch, I mean, as long as you're not streaming gaming content, it's like, for me, it's so hard. You need to be an entertainer for nobody.
Well, even
And
even
that
on
is like,
TikTok, I think yeah, that's what I'm saying is like being a creator that's a streamer. It's a totally different skill set. It's like
yeah,
unrelated to your earlier comment. You're saying Patreon's like TV. I think TV and even movies are going out by the wayside where people are stuck on social. They love it. You can get like your micro niche, follow people that you're interested
yeah,
in. And so I think that's really where the future is at. You can like find any interest, whatever hobby interest you have,
yeah.
you can dive deep on that and find the person that's going to create that content.
And that's why I said, the book niche. They actually need that because Tapkeen has like also text posts. You can upload PDFs, slides. You can just write, and you might receive tips on that
Is
as
it
well.
just the
Like
mobile app,
an
or
author.
can you access it from like your?
Yeah, yeah, it's just mobile. You can share posts and your Tapkeen profile on a website. If someone doesn't have the app,
Mhm.
it would open in a browser. But it's currently just mobile app
But
only.
to actually create the text, you have to key it in with your phone, or you can like copy and
Yeah,
paste.
yeah. Yeah, you could copy and paste,
Okay,
of course, yeah.
okay,
I mean, on your phone only, yeah.
right. Interesting. And what does the name Tapkeen mean?
Like it's like a combination of two words. Like the first is tap, like
Hmm.
tapping the screen, and the second is keen, derived from a game I was playing in the 90s called Commander Keen. And he was like an adventurer traveling through the universe and fighting, like it's a jump and run arcade like game
Got it. Got it.
in the early computer time. And Keen is like, the explorer.
Interesting.
You're exploring by being
And
tapping
what are you
through
doing?
the
What are
app.
you doing to promote Tapkeen? Like, are you creating content now? What's your number one platform for Tapkeen?
I try my best with low budget, and we tried a lot. Like we sent flyers to bookstores. We ran some ads on Instagram,
Hmm.
and this didn't attract the right audience. I mean, it was, but it's in. We need to build some trust currently,
Hmm.
and this is also the reason why I'm trying to be present everywhere to show myself and explain what we are doing there, and not to
But why
say
not?
this
Why
is
not do
a.
like a walkthrough video where you literally like show how the app works? You know what I mean? Like you
That's a
explain.
really interesting idea.
Yeah, like you
Yeah,
can have a
yeah. I
couple.
have just created short recordings with features, but Actually, that's very interesting. I don't know if people will. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, I should do that.
Well, you can
Yeah,
actually
thank
like
you.
record it like where you're just going through it and then do like a voiceover of
Yeah,
of the app.
yeah, we did this with two features, like when we were creating the promise system, and it's like you can copy a link, external content on another platform like LinkedIn, Instagram, somewhere, YouTube, and then you can paste it into the Tapkeen app, block some coins you want to give this person if he registers and claims this token, and this generates a token. You put it in the comments or direct message, and then this person can claim these. And for this feature only, I was creating a screen recording and explaining what is possible with that. But it's I would wonder if somebody was. I mean, the app is quite complex already. We are working like 5 years on that one now, and
Well, yeah, I think
that
I
would be a
think for
3 minute
being an
video. Who will
outsider,
watch that?
being an outsider, not overly familiar with your app, I mean, I would love to see your content where you're speaking about it, right? Like you explain what it's
That's
about.
it. But I think it works because we have a warm connection now, right? We have been talking together multiple
Yeah.
times. I need to just scale this thing, and that is my question. How would I do that? Like scale and get in touch
Well, I
with
think you
more.
have to start off with introducing like who you are, Jochen Grün, right? The founder of
Yeah,
Tapkeen.
right.
Introduce yourself to your audience, like a reintroduction post. And that's really why you're going to enjoy the session next week with Jay Yang. He provides a lot of
Yeah.
content frameworks. And he did one recent, I can share it with you. It's
Over to
called the
you.
LinkedIn Supercharger Week. 7 posts, 7 days, one explosive growth sprint.
Ah,
And day one is called the giveaway post, and the goal is to reach new people through viral sharing. The second day post
right.
is reintroduction post. Tell new followers who you are, which is what I was talking about. Number three is sharing an actionable tip. Establish credibility and authority. Number four is a Q&A post. Drive engagement and learn what they want. So you actually ask your audience. Number five is vulnerable post. Build trust through authenticity. Number five is to do like a newsletter CTA where you convert your followers into subscribers and then share a win, right? We've got our first download or whatever, you know what I mean? Like celebrate and invite people to
Yeah,
root for
right,
you.
right, right.
I think it's about
Yeah.
experimenting, and this kind of goes back to the earlier argument about writing content. You can ask AI.
Just a simple question. How would you put that? I mean, for example, I put that on LinkedIn, right? It's I put this as a 7 day streak, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put a post every day for 7 days.
Yes.
Do I just take a selfie per day, or what is the
Well,
underlying image behind
you
that?
don't always have to have an image, I think is the point. You could literally do text. You can do a selfie. You've got your Tapkeen app, so you can do like a screenshot of your phone, for example, like literally a picture.
Like that? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Or,
that's smart.
you in your
Yeah, that's
office, you've
smart.
got like a nice like home office there with like the cool lights. You live in Europe, so you can like literally just be anywhere at some like random park. I mean, you're in Switzerland of all places. That's like a great backdrop, right? You travel
Yeah,
quite a
right,
bit
right.
too. You travel, so like you should take a picture of yourself on you said you were on the train earlier today. You could literally be on the train. You flew
True.
you travel quite a bit, so I don't think you have a
I
shortage.
just enjoy that. It's too beautiful. I need the time to enjoy that. I don't have time for taking photos,
Quick
right?
snapshot with your phone, right? You don't have
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, true.
authenticity is about being real, right? It's not about having this mega
Yeah.
production, a big photographer setup. No, no, it's just like literally you and your phone, and people can really relate to that and appreciate that. So I'll send you this. This I think was an email, but he actually
Yeah.
includes example posts, and for each of these posts, he gives you the goal, how to write it, an example post, and some tips for each of those 7 days. The
Yeah.
kid's 20 years old. He's already worked for Alex Hormozy. He
That,
pitched the founder of Beehive, Tyler Dank, at 15 years old in high school. He landed an internship as a sophomore in high school, to use U.S. terminology. He worked for Noah Kagan, the CEO of AppSumo, and now he's got his own ghostwriting agency. for others. And so the guy is a phenomenal talent.
How did you find him? How did you notice him?
I came across Jay Yang 4 years ago through this random podcast.
Did you meet him
No,
personally?
no, no. Through X, through Twitter, he was featured on this other writer that I was following at the time. This woman, her name is Niti, Niti Saran, Sarran, Indian American from, I want to say, Illinois somewhere, and she had a podcast. She was writing very well, and I think by the time she was 18, she had generated $100,000 online by writing on Twitter. And so she started this little podcast, and she interviewed Jay Yang when he was like 15 years old, still a shy kid, figuring things out. Fast forward 5 years later, and the kid's like blowing up, you know. It's pretty remarkable. My real focus going forward is growing my own business, right? And so I've been supporting Social Rising, I've been supporting Art of Sell, but at the end of the day, similar to you, you've got Tapkeen. I want to get my own business up and running, and that takes a lot of focus. So I just finished a newsletter accelerator. This guy, Nathan May, he's the founder of the Feed Media. He runs this cohort-based program called the Newsletter Accelerator. It was 4 weeks, fantastic program. And then this week I started an AI program with Daniel Paul. And so, yeah, that's what I'm focused on. Really trying to understand.
Give me a quick recap. What is your business currently? What is the current state? Where are you now? What did you achieve in the last 3 months?
Yeah, so
What's
basically
your
my current
state?
client is the Art of Sell. Even though I have like this official title of head of growth, we have a revenue share where I get a percentage of all new business that the Art of Sell sells.
Nice.
And so, you know, what I love about working with Richard is the fact that I have like carte blanche. I can really do everything for him. And so one thing I've really focused in on as of late, and we kind of talked about this on last week's call with Vlad about the webinar that they had, the session for the monetization, which I thought, not to be critical, there was a lot of opportunity to make it better. Basically, people that want to get better at sales.
I see.
And so every Tuesday and Thursday, we have a guest speaker. And so Jay is a guest speaker for Art of Sell. So it's a paid membership, but occasionally we do these promotional activities where we open up invites to people that, you know, do like the repost of the post. It's like only the second time we've done that, actually. But to really grow the membership, we've done now 3 webinars. And so we'll host it on Zoom. There's like the nurture sequence, you know, doing the promotional posts to get people interested. Say, 500 people register, 200 people show up, then a certain percentage of people actually convert. So I'm working with a company called Stacked Growth. We had a call today, in fact, of how to maximize performance on getting a higher number of people to participate, the whole nurturing and email sequence and the follow-ups, etc. And then when you actually record the session in Zoom, you upload the video into this platform.
All right.
And then you can cut out the clips, you can create landing pages, you can gatekeep for event replays, and there's like the whole conversion cycle afterwards.
That's a
So
lot of content
there's a
you
lot
have
of
there,
opportunity here.
Exactly.
And so my key focus, really my whole business is really about supporting these bootstrap founders to grow their business through content. So yeah, that's what I'm focused in on. So the newsletter, every 2 weeks, I write about a founder and like where they're at in their business and what opportunities they have. And so I charge for that typically, like a diagnostic. And then if they like what's contained in there, we can work on a retainer basis where, you know, I execute and deliver content, copywriting, etc.
The AI watermark, did we actually cover it completely?
Well, I think with the AI watermark, ultimately, is that this is a very new law. It literally went into enforcement as of August 2nd. I'm not even sure if that's the correct word. It was basically enacted on August 2nd. And as I understand it, in my very light reading of the topic, is that Anthropic, from an operational efficiency perspective, decided to roll this out globally because it's like one fix in their LLM model to include the watermark, regardless of the country. But ultimately, the EU is enforcing it for, you know, the EU citizens that use AI that's what Europe can do is like, hey, even though you might be from a different country, you have users in the EU, and therefore you are responsible for being able to disclose that the output is AI generated, and you can tag that.
Yeah.
And so it's so fresh and so new, no one really knows what's happening, but it's important to know there are actually two different roles. One is called a provider and one is called a deployer.
Yeah.
And so the provider is like Anthropic, OpenAI,
Right.
and any other business platform that creates AI, right? Like, Copilot, and then much smaller apps. And then the deployers are the end users, right? So it's only the providers that are responsible. But if you do not comply by actually making it, like having the watermark available or the equivalent, using some kind of icon,
Yeah.
you can face punitive damages like fines for non-compliance, like $15 million up to 15 million euros, or 3% of total worldwide sales, annual turnover.
That's a lot.
So this is like a really big thing.
Yeah.
And so I think Anthropic was like, look, guys, we're just going to do this out globally. I think in the case of OpenAI, as I understand it, they're going to do it on a scaled approach, like start in the EU and then kind of see how that's going to roll out ultimately.
Right.
But it's so fresh. I mean, I don't think anybody knows. And then as far as like the tools to detect it and like what that means, what LinkedIn is doing, etc., who knows?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's like very simple, right? If you use AI, you need to flag it or show in your post
Yes.
that you were using it, because it can be proven.
I've always used like that AI detection tool, and it'll give you like literally a percentage.
Yeah.
Right. If you as a human write yourself, you're not perfect, and it will just say this is like 12% probability it was written by AI. But when you read something that you just know is AI, you copy paste it, boom, 99% certainty it was written with AI. Or it can have it flags it in colors. Green is low AI detection. Red is super high AI
Yeah.
detection, but it'll go on
It's
a
also like a
line-by-line,
scale,
paragraph
actually,
by
right?
paragraph.
It's a spectrum.
Yes,
It's like,
exactly. From 0% to 100%. And you can even actually have like one line is AI, another line is non-AI.
how about all
So
the
you can
people
kind of
that
see
were
the
using regularly AI every day and they are starting to write like AI? How about them?
Well, there's another school of thought. Do you know who Ruben Hassid is?
No,
Have you heard of
no.
him? Ruben Hassid, he's like one of the AI gurus on LinkedIn. He's originally from France, I believe, but I want to say he lives in Israel, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me check
But
that out. Yeah.
Ruben Hassid,
Ruben.
he is a big AI guy, and his whole business is written on AI. He's all about having like a voice profile. He recommends that you do like a 100-question interview of yourself to understand your preferences, your style, your voice, etc. You save that in a markdown file. And then every time you write on Claude, you tell it to read this markdown file of your voice. And then you prompt it and say, okay, I want to generate a post about the AI watermark. Create a post in my voice. You hit enter, and then it will come back with something that is much more close to your voice. And then from there, you can kind of tweak it, is one approach to using AI to write that is going to be much more human-esque than just asking Claude to do it otherwise.
I guess
And so
I'm
that's
just writing it
one of-
myself then.
Well, no, but I mean, the thing is, it does take a while to set it up.
Yeah.
But you will be surprised that there is a significant difference versus just, even with a good prompt in Claude, if you feed it first this markdown file of your voice, it will much more closely match your style. That being said, to your comment, I think it's a lot of work when really this is about teaching yourself how to write, and the only way to do that is by writing on a daily
Yeah,
basis.
that's the thing, yeah.
And so that's why
Yeah.
I'm going back literally to writing on a daily basis. But I don't necessarily start with a blank slate. I will brainstorm. I will spar with the AI. Give me some ideas. Which article, which post do you think is better on this topic? Does this topic relate to my ICP? Will this post resonate with my ICP?
Yeah.
Yes or no? and why, or change the angle, change this, change that. And then what I'll do is I will use voice to text as just to like kind of get a rough sketch, a rough draft. And then from there, kind of you can whittle it down.
Makes sense. Yeah, interesting. I will take a look at this voice to text.
Oh,
it's
nice.
late. Let's I'm super excited for the call next week.
Yes.
Let's wrap it up. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really nice
Jochen,
talking to you about this topic.
great
It was
session.
very interesting and inspiring.
Yeah, we can riff again in the future if you want.
Definitely. So, thank you, Antonio. That was a very inspiring
Yeah,
session
Jochen, this
we're
was a
having.
great session.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
great.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.